19th of February 25, and I'm just looking at the Ukraine thing and President Trump, who I think's been a total idiot on this. I mean, it seems like he's acting like a dictator. I'm starting to wonder if he wants the world to be Russia, China, and America as dictators, and he would need to become a dictator. That's his thinking, something like that. I don't know. It's pure crazy. It's not even worth thinking. It just seems one of these poster people that don't make sense because they're always everything's to make them look good, even though it's just stupid. You know, I mean, you've probably known one or two in your life that they don't make sense wherever you meet them. Yeah, I would have voted for him because of mass migration, but because there was no one else to vote because of that. But on this, I think he's been the total opposite of sensible. Oh, we should be doing everything we can to help Ukraine defend themselves and get their land back, etc. And to make Russia weak. And I hope that they'll remove Putin and then they'll become like the America of the East. Because it seems that Russians want to become Americans, Putin supporters in America or whatever. But they don't want to be, they don't seem to want Russia to be the America of the East as desirable as America as it is to them, you know. Probably a lot of Putin's children and the others, their children are probably in the West or whatever, you know, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm reading Grok for this because Grok's really good for politics. Google Gemini doesn't do politics really, so Grok's really good for it. Um, let's see what they're saying. So first of all, I asked it about Zelensky. What's Zelensky doing today? As of today, February 19th, 25, here are the latest developments regarding Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, based on recent reports. And I just found out today, through George Galloway, that Zelensky actually was a Russian speaker into adulthood. I think until he wanted to become a comedian, basically. So, well into adulthood. And so that just goes to show you that him being a Russian speaker, he can think of nothing worse than being part of Russia, you know. So that shows you. I think George Galloway's point was meant to be the opposite. His was meant to be that it's it just goes to show you that he's Russian really or something like that. But to me, it's shown me that this is how much they don't want to be part of Russia. When the Russian speakers, a lot of the Russian speakers don't want to be part. I mean, one of the YouTube channels, Think Ukraine, the lady in that, I think her heritage is sort of Russian, Belarus, Russian speaker, Ukrainian. She couldn't be more pro-Ukraine, you know. And also Denis Davidov, he's also a Russian speaker as well. I think he's from Crimea. I'm not sure, but uh, and the two of them really don't want Ukraine to be part of Russia or whatever, you know. So to me, it shows you how much these people don't want to be. And also, there was a poll yesterday in America or something like. I think it was CNN. It showed you. So people say it's biased or something. I don't know, but how many people uh, think we should be supporting Russia or Ukraine? And I think Russia was 4% or something like that. I'll maybe do another post on that. You know, I've never seen a poll so much against. About 8% supported Putin. So I've never seen a poll so much against. And Trump's going the opposite of them. That must include his base that are doing that. I mean, the Republicans were always the side that were anti-Russia, and rightfully so. Uh, and since Trump's come in the scene, 2016, they've been the opposite. You know, it doesn't make sense. And apparently, the Twitter channel Republicans Against Trump, which is very good, it said that in 2008, Trump sold his mansion for 95 million, two and a half times the asking price, to some sort of Russian connected to Putin. So I don't know. That's you really don't know what he's thinking. Personally, I think he'll get removed if his fan base gets too upset, which is a great possibility. You know, Because he was saying his waiters in Mar-a-Lago, they've come from Central America or South America or something, and he thinks they're great waiters, the best there are. So I think like that for his fan base, that's not the kind of thing they're wanting to hear, you know. So yeah. Anyway, on to this, on to Zelensky, etc. Based on recent reports, Zelensky has been actively responding to the ongoing tensions surrounding peace talks between the US and Russia. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. US and Russia without Ukraine and Europe involved. This is Trump again, which have excluded Ukraine. He has strongly criticised these negotiations, particularly after being left out of discussions held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and to hold them in Saudi Arabia as well. This is another one that Trump's always sort of involved in some reason. The last time his first foreign visit was to Saudi Arabia, and I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. It's either to do with money, personal money for him, or he just likes bad guys or something, you know, it's just weird. He likes to insult his peers who are allies, you know, that's just his way he seems to operate. Zelensky has emphasised that any peace deal must be fair and involve Ukraine directly, refusing to accept outcomes decided without Kyiv's participation. He accused the US of bringing Russia out of global isolation through these bilateral talks and dismissed claims by President Donald Trump that Ukraine is to blame for the war, or that his approval ratings are as low as 4%. Yeah, this is Donald Trump. He just makes lies all the time. He's saying that Zelensky's ratings in Ukraine are 4%. They're not at all. Somebody said today they're 57%, but I would imagine I did a poll today, it'd be a lot higher than that, because the people who are saying, no, we don't support Zelensky, they're always saying, oh my God, we're going to become part of Russia. We need to show we support Zelensky, you know. And yeah, I don't know who Zelensky's been talked to in an interview today, but he's been saying a lot of things like USA are doing the wrong thing. I mean, he's been really nice to them up to now. But obviously, with Trump not even taking Ukraine to a peace meeting in Saudi Arabia between the USA and Russia, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And apparently, one of the things that they've sort of agreed on in principle is that Ukraine needs to have an election before there's a peace agreement. I mean, did America have that during World War II? Did Britain have that in World War II? We had parties of unity in Britain, you know. Churchill was a leader, and I think he's just put his statue back in the White House. But I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous thing. And I would guess that Zelensky would win that by like 90% or something. You know, it's either Zelensky or become part of Russia. So once you put that in front of him, you know, Zelensky said he would do some kind of poll on a platform. So that's good, because I think that's what we should be doing in democracies. Leaders should be, and MPs and politicians should be having polls all the time in their Twitter feeds and stuff to their constituents, etc. Anyway, on to this again. Recent polls, however, show that Zelensky still maintains significant domestic support. According to the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, 57% of Ukrainians trust him, with 37% distrusting him. Like I say, now it'd probably be like, I don't know, 70, 80, 90% trust him after what Trump's done this week, marking a slight improvement from December 24 when his trust rating was 52%. This indicates he retains a narrow majority support despite the challenges of the ongoing conflict. Zelensky has also postponed his trip to Saudi Arabia, originally scheduled for this week, and rescheduled it for March 10th, 25. Following meetings in Turkey, he has expressed willingness to pursue diplomatic solutions to reclaim territories occupied by Russia, emphasising that such efforts are not a betrayal of Ukraine's interests, but a way to preserve lives. Additionally, Zelensky has clashed with the Trump administration over demands for Ukraine to hold elections during wartime, which he argues is unconstitutional and impractical. It's just stupid. And over a proposed US deal that would grant America access to 50% of Ukraine's natural resources in exchange for support. This is another thing that's absolutely ridiculous by Trump. He's saying now that all the aid, they'll need to pay for that now through America getting 50% of Ukraine's natural resources forever. It's absolutely scandalous. I think the next president would just null such an agreement anyway, even if it was a Republican, because it's just mugging. Really, it's mugging somebody in a poor situation. Uh, so Zelensky's rejected that. I mean, you're talking trillions, and Trump says that the US has given Ukraine 500 billion, but Zelensky said today it's about 97 billion. It's about 61 billion in military aid and 37 on other forms of aid. So, and I think Europe's meant to have given about 175 billion, or at least that's what we're said to have. So that would mean that Europe's given a lot more. And so Trump was lying about that as well. So, I mean, I think Trump's going to get removed by his cabinet. Will want to remove him, but they won't be able to because you can't, because his fan base. They may have a civil war or something. So it's only the fan base can remove him, but that might happen because he's just too wacky. I think the last time he brought in lots of neocons, Republican neocons, just typical politicians, and he didn't really do what he wanted. This time he's doing what he wanted, which is absolutely barmy, basically. So we'll see what happens. And it's feeling like a dictatorship, America as well. So anyway, Zelensky rejected that 50% thing. He has also warned that reduced US support could lead Russia to target NATO countries next, citing intelligence about potential Russian military build-up. These developments highlight Zelensky's efforts to maintain Ukraine's position on the global stage while navigating complex diplomatic and military challenges. For the most current details, blah 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 blah. And then the next thing I typed in, what's the EU's latest news about Ukraine? This is in Grok. And I want to see this because I feel that Europe need to just basically think of America even as a sort of enemy within at the moment, really, under Trump. Because Trump wants us to sort of deal with it all, Europe, but also to buy weapons from America and also probably to keep America in the same prestige, because at the moment America is country number one in the world. Europe and all that defer to America, but if they're going to behave like this, they've got to become independent. Because I think the EU actually has more citizens than America, a bigger economy. I think. I don't know if that includes Britain or not, but yeah. So I think apparently at the moment our spending on weapons is a lot lower. And also apparently Ukraine's become really good with drones and all that and making their own stuff. They've been really innovative. That David Petraeus, who used to lead some sort of American force military, he said they're probably the most innovative in Europe, if not the world. I think he said even including America. He says America's armed for the old type of wars, whereas Ukraine's armed for the new type, which is drone based, really. I think drone and cyber stuff, So this thing about the EU, I'll see what's saying here. As of today, February 19th, 25, here's what's currently happening regarding the European Union's latest actions concerning Ukraine. The EU is intensifying its support for Ukraine amid ongoing tensions and peace talks between the US and Russia, from which Ukraine and Europe have been largely excluded. European leaders are increasingly concerned about being silent and are taking steps to strengthen their position and aid to Kyiv. Here are the key developments. Yeah, apparently they're going to give them €6 billion of aid, almost straight away, which is probably the biggest aid package ever. So that's really good. Personally, like I say, I think EU need to take their own defence onto themselves. In a way, you can sort of forget NATO in a way, really, because NATO was really Europe and America and Canada and Australia, maybe, I don't know. really you need to think it is Europe and Australia now until whatever happens to Trump, 4 years or whatever. So the EU is preparing a significant military aid package worth at least £6 billion for Ukraine. Yeah, EU have got to just try and let Ukraine win, basically. That's how we've got to view it. Try to placate Russia is nonsense. This package includes 1.5 million artillery shells, air defence systems and equipment for Ukrainian brigades. It's one of the largest military aid efforts since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022 and could potentially grow to €10 billion or more as EU countries assess their inventories. This move aims to bolster Ukraine's defences as it faces Russian advances and prepares for possible peace negotiations. Because Russia, they're using donkeys, they're using golf buggies on the front line. They're putting fishing nets up all around their convoy routes because their convoys are getting done in all the time by drones. Their oil refineries are getting done in Russia by drones as well. I mean, what Ukraine's done is a miracle, really, and I think possibly with technology and their wisdom, they could defeat Russia. Russia's just using really, for the most part, meat waves where hundreds of their soldiers get killed. And Zelensky said recently that he reckons about 46,000 Ukrainians have died. There's many missing in action as well, though, says thousands. And he thinks Russia is about 350,000 have died, that's just died. And then there's a million injured or something. Same with Ukraine, although a lot of their injured, they've been healed and they're back on the front line again, maybe get injured again. That doesn't seem to happen with Russia because once you're injured there, one of your buddies might kill you, just so you don't get a disability payment for your family or whatever. Your family would be told you're missing in action, so they don't get any money and stuff like that. Sanctions on Russia. The EU has agreed on a new package of sanctions against Russia, marking the 16th round since the war began. These sanctions target Russia's Shadow tanker fleet and Chinese firms supplying drones to Moscow, signalling Europe's intent to maintain pressure on Russia despite US efforts to negotiate directly with Russia. That's what you've got to do. You've just got to ignore US at the moment. They're absolutely try to placate Putin. It's like Chamberlain, 1939. I would be more sympathetic to Chamberlain because at that time he was trying to keep us out of a world war. And then we did go in because of Poland, invaded Poland, but America didn't come in for another 2 years. It wasn't until Japan did Pearl Harbor in 1941. So diplomatic efforts and summits. European leaders have been holding emergency summits to coordinate their response to the US-Russia talks. A second crisis summit is planned for Wednesday. Yeah, that's it. You've got to keep having summits within yourself. They've already had one. They're having one today. Probably had it already, 25, in Paris, following an initial meeting on Monday. Yeah, I've got to. This summit will include leaders from major EU countries like France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland and others, as well as Norway and Canada. The goal is to present a united front and ensure Europe's voice is heard in any peace process. French President Emmanuel Macron and other leaders have emphasised that any deal must involve Ukraine and provide lasting security guarantees, not just a temporary ceasefire. Yeah, because apparently Trump's already come up with a sort of thing, a ceasefire followed by elections in Ukraine. I mean, does anyone think Putin was fairly elected? But elections in Ukraine, and then they start moving on to peace negotiations. I mean, the whole thing's bizarre. Just ignore Trump, really, but that's what Europe's got to do anyway. Exclusion from US-Russia talks. There's significant frustration in EU capitals and Kyiv over the US and Russian holding talks in Riyadh without European or Ukrainian representation. EU leaders, including German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Macron, have stressed that decisions about Ukraine cannot be made without Ukraine's involvement. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has also indicated that Europe is willing to step up, but insists the US must provide a backstop to ensure any peace deal is sustainable. Probably that own ego as well, having the US as a backstop. Increased defence spending. European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, are calling for a surge in defence spending and greater self-reliance. Yeah, self-reliance, for sure. This comes as a response to US President Donald Trump's demands for Europe to take more responsibility for its security and his push for a quick resolution to the conflict, which some fear could favour Russia. Absolutely. Support for Ukraine's position. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been vocal about rejecting any deal made without Kyiv's input. He has also postponed a trip to Saudi Arabia, originally scheduled for this week, and rescheduled it for March 10th, 25, to avoid giving legitimacy to the US-Russia meetings. European leaders echo his stance, warning that a weak ceasefire could embolden Russia to attack again, either in Ukraine or elsewhere in Europe. Public and political sentiment. Posts on X reflect a mix of support for these EU actions and concerns about their effectiveness. Some users note the EU's efforts to impose fresh sanctions and provide aid, but others question whether these measures have enough critical mass to make a real difference without US involvement. Yeah, really you just need to think of the US as a lame duck in a moment, or even the enemy within. And like I say, that poll in CNN said that I think about 8% thought Russia, we should be supporting Russia, or I don't know how many supporting Ukraine, I don't know, it was a lot. Must be Trump's fan base even. Overall, the EU is trying to balance supporting Ukraine militarily and diplomatically while navigating the shifting dynamics of US foreign policy under President Trump. The situation remains fluid, with European leaders working to ensure Ukraine's security and sovereignty are not compromised in any future peace deal. For the most up-to-date details, events can change quickly. Yeah, they are changing quickly. I mean, daily, really. Really, it's to try and stop Trump doing damage. Okay, that's all for just now on this. Goodbye.